Hey, how are y'all doing? So, I have my overnight highs here, my overnight lows down here. The overnight highs are slightly into the other session. That's fine. You don't gotta sweat it if it's barely in the other session. I used to overthink things like that all the time, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It's just barely. So, anyway, we have this downtrend. We have a break, two legs at a new low, and then I'll go over the big picture stuff here first, and then we'll go into the smaller details. So we have this downtrend break, two clear legs to a new low, and then as we don't reach it, we get close, and when we get close, we rush back above the EMA. We get a first entry short, second entry short, failure. So that's a big picture failed second entry. Now, considering we reached this measured move here, I thought it'd be best to limit to 1-to-1. But that is a big picture failed second entry right there. Because we already reached the measured move. You wouldn't want to push it past it again. Now, look at another example, such as this trade here. So this trade here is a failed second entry. First entry short, second entry short, failure. So is this trade. First entry short, second entry short, failure. And so you can take this failed second entry short in order to try to reach this measured move here. That's what the intent of taking this would be. And so you take this intending to reach this measured move. But this one, the measured move is already met. And so if there was any sort of closing below the EMA, I would not have taken it. I still thought it was good even after it scared you a little bit, because it did scare you a little bit. That's not ideal, and it probably does have to do with the fact that the measured move is already reached, but it is a big picture failed second entry after we had these two legs down, so I do think it's a good, very good context area, but you wouldn't want to push your target too much. Given the measured move. But anyway, so I kind of just got sidetracked. I meant to do the big picture stuff, and then I was going to get into smaller stuff. But yeah, we reversed here. We went into this uptrend. We held off these lows. At first, it was a little bit more like this. It was right off those bodies, and then it did break, and then it held perfectly back inside, and then it took off. And when it took off, I felt like it was fine to put it back to there, or not back to there, but move it down to there. And then it did hold another good time off of it there. So anyway, let's get into, let me zoom in here. So we have this downtrend, break, new low. We already know that. So we get a break, downtrend gets a break. We get this first entry, which I know that there's a little tick lower there, but I really just see that as one entry. So one leg, two legs. That tick lower there, I'm not going to count that as a second leg. I'm not going to say first entry, second entry. I'm going to say first entry, second entry. That's what I would rather do. And so we get this reversal pattern, which the measured move is already reached. But that's not even why I don't like this. It's that this big downtrend is in play. So we have this downtrend in play. We rushed above the EMA. Made this bullish measured move, so I don't want to be buying for all those reasons combined. And then we do get an overshoot, which leads to a break. There's no good setup, though. You can't just short just because it's an overshoot. And then it gets extremely choppy, and there's nothing to take in there. And then we just plummet out of nowhere. I really don't think there's any good entries in here. I see nothing that I like in here. And then we just push on lower. And also, here, I do want to talk about the context. You can expect a new low for this downtrend. The downtrend is a break. You can expect a new low. You can be looking for a short setup in this area, but you just don't get one. It's just way too congestive. But you should be expecting a new low for that downtrend break. So anyway, it just kind of continuously drops on down. We go into this downtrend here. We overshoot. We get this two-legged correction. We get to the trend line. I don't think it's good to short there because we'll look at it like this. We rushed above the EMA, and then we didn't have a perfect signal bar. So if we rush above that bullishly, and then the signal bar is trying to close back up, I don't think that looks good. Not to mention how low you're going short. You're already shorting really low. You do technically have room to the lows of this congestion here, but it is very low. It just rushed above the EMA, and then it was trying to close back above. It's just, you should avoid that. So we turn up higher here. We get this higher low above the EMA. We push higher. We get this spike up. We go into this congestion. We get this small breakout pullback. It's very congestive this whole way. There's nothing that you can taken there, or at least in my opinion. And then here you get first entry long, second entry long, failure. You can kind of see this failed second entry inside of this downtrend. Now, you're entering short. If you enter this, you're entering short just after it, it started going down, and then you're shorting at the very low of this move. And then you're shorting into these lows of this downtrend here. You would basically, there's not much of a reason to enter this, in my opinion. It's just too risky. It's too, it's entering too low. It's into this trend line. That's all those things combined. I don't think it's a good trade. And it's like you would basically have to expect it to overshoot. You'd have to say, oh, I'm going to take this. I'm going to bet on it overshooting this channel here, which is not something that you do. So anyway, we overshot, and then we immediately had a break. We had this push down, and so this measured move is in play. We have this push down. We started attempting to move down here. We corrected. We know that we can put the measured move to here, and then put the measured move line down here. And so we know that there's a measured move in play. Price is trying to reach it. We have this push down, and then we get this big picture failed second entry. So first entry long, second entry long, failure. So this is basically attempting to finish the measured move, because price does try to complete these measured moves. So price pushes down, you get a first entry long, second entry long, failure. It's a big picture failed second entry trying to reach this measured move. You got these two legs up. I hesitated on this. I literally missed this. It was so annoying because it just happened too fast. I should have been paying closer attention, all that stuff. It just took off without me. So unfortunate. But anyway, I think it's a good looking trade. I noticed Mike got that. I forgot to congratulate him. I meant to type that into him. But anyway, so we push on lower. We don't quite reach the measured move, but we get close, and then we just out of nowhere just get a little tiny bit congestive, and then we rush back above the EMA. We get this higher low. That's not good enough to enter just as a higher low, because you're in a big downtrend, and then out of nowhere it just rushed above the EMA barely. It's barely above the EMA, and then you're barely getting any kind of correction. Like after you push higher, you would want to see a correction. You're just barely closing above, ticking lower. I don't think that's a good higher low. And then you get this. This is a failed second entry to the tick. If you count it, you can see first entry short, second entry short, failure. It's really just on a bigger picture, it's just a higher low, because you would have to do the count by breaks of channels and trend lines rather than by the tick count. But either way, I don't think there's a good entry here, even as the to the tick failed second entry. It's just too bearish overall for such a small trade like that. But we do start to correct. We have this spike up now. We correct, and then we have another spike. You can put your measured move as soon as it starts to kind of go in that direction. You can figure out where the swing is gonna be. You put the measured move there, and then I marked this area as a trap. It's a place people would definitely get trapped at, which I know I can't mark every single trap, because then I'd have a million blue circles all over the place. I'm just marking the ones that I think people that are a little bit more experienced would fall for. That's kind of how I'm gauging it. I'm just seeing the ones that a little bit more experienced people would probably fall for sometimes too. That way I don't mark too many, because that would be insane, because I would mark stuff all over the place. But I can still kind of talk about some that, some of y'all might have taken. So anyway, I marked it as a trap because some people would definitely take it just because it's at a measured move. They would say, we have downtrend, break, expecting a new low, 2 legs back. But here's the thing. Overall, the downtrend is played out. This downtrend here had a break and 2 legs to a new low. These 2 legs to a new low did form this downtrend here. But I wouldn't be wanting to take, when this downtrend here gets a break, I wouldn't be wanting to try to make a new low for it. This downtrend here already has a break and 2 legs to a new low. I would be wanting to look for a reversal. So that's the problem with this, is the downtrend's already played out, and then it's rushing above the EMA. That is already a sign of a reversal. When a downtrend plays out, 2 legs down, rushing above the EMA, that's a reversal. You don't want to go short. And then also it's just not off of any resistance or anything. It's just in no man's land. So it's just overall not good context. But then there's this. You still want to limit yourself if you enter on the inverse, because you did reach this measured move. And so you would really want room. I didn't mind that it was a couple ticks higher because there was wicks that it had already pierced through. So I didn't mind that. But I did not want to go more than the range. So I didn't want to go like double the range. I didn't want to go for more than 1-to-1. But anyway, we move higher here. We get these corrections. We get a little breakout pullback. They're not reaching the EMA. We get another correction, and then another correction, and then it's just first entry, just one big spike to the EMA. I'm just gonna mark this because I had specifically marked a few for similar reasons in this trend, and then this follows it because it's just a first entry. It just goes up and then a first entry. I see that there's a little tick there. It's a double top. That's really just one leg down. That's not enough to take a buy off of. And then here, this swing, there's all these little tiny swings inside of this, move up here, like here and here. But then this swing and this swing are clearly more important, made more big swings. So the big swings have a reset right here when this one ticks higher. So now we have another first entry. So that's another area people would get trapped at because they're just trying to enter on a first entry, which I see that one won right here, but I still don't think it's good to enter. And then once again here, just a first entry. If you had entered it, you would have been stopped out pretty fast. And then as soon as it made that little second entry lower, it did take off. Not that it's good though. It's very congestive, and it's on a bigger picture still just one leg down. But clearly once it did that little tiny second entry, it had a lot easier time taking off. And so we push higher. We finally start to correct again. We reach the EMA. It's just a first entry. That's definitely an area some people would get trapped at if it's off the EMA, but it's just a first entry. Pretty bad signal bar. Terrible signal bar. And even if you did want to enter off of this, it's still just a first entry. And then you would have this. So you would be entering in right after this overshoot, and it only has one leg down at this point. So I don't think that's good at all. Which I'm going to quickly move this trend line off of that swing right here, because that's how it was at first. And then I only moved it after it took off here. So we get a second leg down here, which ends up forming just this bigger picture, one leg down, which ends up forming this bigger two legs down. First leg break, second leg, and then that broke the channel. I don't see any good shorts in here because you would have been shorting into this line right here, this overnight low, and price is clearly reacting off of it. I don't think it's good to enter into that. We pierced through. I wouldn't take this as a breakout pullback, like a breakout pullback. That's not what I would be taking this as. I would be looking to fade with the trend, not counter trend trying to get a breakout pullback. And so anyway, we get this second leg down, I get a break out of this range, but it pushed through this uptrend here, and so it's not off of any support anymore at this point. So I didn't like any of this in here. And then it didn't quite reach the measured move either for this downtrend break new low. So it didn't reach the measured move. If it had reached it, I would have been more inclined because that is kind of support in some way, and it would have had context with this support, but it's not off of any kind of support whatsoever. And then this bar was red, and then this bar was clearly reacting off of this channel, which is not what you'd want to see, especially because it really could just tick higher and then just reach the measured move and then take off. So it's not good to enter when there's no support, even if you kind of have some kind of context. But anyway, it just pushes on higher. You get this higher low. It's entering, it's closing, 65% into this range right here. So I don't think that's good to enter on. And then this right here, I have it marked as a loss in my head. Although I didn't lose. It went one tick from my stop, but it did not go through my stop. I kind of just I ended up holding through it. I didn't add on. Whatever. I didn't add on right here, so I kind of just let this go. I did still get out at this 12 ticks right here, but I did not actually get out at this. I have trouble adding on, and then I also have trouble changing my targets. So this right here, the reason that it's not as good is because it's more short term. It's just a to the tick failed second entry. That's all it is. Like, it's just, you see this push higher and this break. It's kind of just like a higher low, but there is a tick lower here, so it is a failed second entry technically. I was thinking that, it kind of has room in this channel. If the highs are off of right there, then it has room, but really I should have seen it more as an overshoot, and then it, kind of recovered, had a little push, but then it broke and nearly stopped me out right here. I think I should have waited on a break. I shouldn't have done it by the tick. Like this has you see how there's like a tick lower here? And then this tick lower is much more significant right here when it ticks lower here than right here. If they had both been as significant as this right here instead of just this tick lower, I think it would have been good, but I kind of jumped the gun there. But I didn't add on because I have trouble adding on. It's just something I generally don't do. But what I should have done was gotten out of this one at break even probably, and then tried to enter this one. I should have tried to enter this one and gone for 1 to 2. So anyway, that's not how it went, but that's fine. And then after it took off there, I extended it to here, so now it's off of those lows, those highs. Oh, whoops, So anyway, we push higher here. We eventually get through this next target. We push higher, there's another trap marked. It does work, but it's just a first entry. So you're pushing higher, you're inside of an uptrend, then you get a first entry correction to the EMA. I don't think that's good. And now look at this here. So even though it worked here, it doesn't mean it's going to work every time. And here's proof. First entry, just one leg to the EMA inside of this uptrend. It ticks higher, you get stopped out. Not a good looking entry. But then here I also have this right here marked as another possible trap, because it's an area that people would get trapped at. It's because it is a second entry, but it's below the EMA. So this is what you would consider here. You would consider that it is in this measured move, and it will try to reach this measured move. Now, if the EMA didn't hold, and it didn't quite, if the EMA did hold on this second entry, and then it's not completing this measured move, that'd be fine. But since it broke the EMA, that means it's not finding resistance there. It's more likely to complete this measured move now. It's more likely to bounce off of the EMA and then stop you out trying to get down to that measured move. So I don't think that you should buy closing below the EMA like this, with this context. But then here it is closing back above. It's basically the same entry, except it's shooting above the EMA. The EMA is confirmed now. After those two legs back, you're not pushing it too far into those new highs. Plus, you have room in this uptrend anyway. So I think that looks good right there. Not this right here, not this right here. But I think after this closes here, I like entering above that, putting it below the swing right there. And then we have a couple legs higher here, bounces off the trend line. Then here you get two legs back. And then I have this more. I think this looks pretty good. I like this trade a lot. Excuse me. So there's two legs back. On a big picture, you would eventually see it as one leg, but you can clearly see the separation. If you draw the trend here, you have a clear break, new low, and then as soon as it makes a new low, it's finding resistance off this support. But if you draw this bigger trend, it is closing inside of that, and I didn't like that. And then it's even closing in it right here. It's clearly resisting off of it. But then here, it's closed out. If it was truly resisting off this a lot, then it would have already stopped you out if you had entered here. But But basically, it's closing outside with a bullish bar. It retested this line. So I have this line here. Just let me get it exact off of it. You have this line here. It's resisting off of it here. Even though it technically closed out, you can tell it's clearly like it went higher and then it closed basically on it. That's resisting off of it. And then it retested it right here, closed all the way back above with a bullish bar, bullish pin bar. I like it then, because it didn't go down, close all the way down here. It actually retested it and then closed all the way back up here. Clearly finding support at this trend line. So I do like this a whole lot. And then the reason I like 1 to 2 on this in particular is because it has a spike down. So it's a good looking setup with good context, and it's spiked down, which is very common for symmetry. And then it doesn't even have to go that far. It doesn't have to reach the top of the symmetry, which I like, because a lot of times it won't reach it. But so yeah, I did like that. This I noticed. I figured a lot of people had probably taken this and got trapped. I was in this one up here in the green right here, and I knew that people were taking this as a short, which is not good, because it rushed above the EMA. It's off of this trend line here. Even though some may look at it as first entry long, second entry long, failure. But, it just bounced off this key entry point. Or, well, it really, yeah, it did. I got confused because at first it was off of that one and then it broke there. I was thinking of it as this one being the one that broke, not there. But anyway, sorry. So it bounced off this trend line. You don't want to, it's clearly holding to the bull side. You don't want to just take that short that rushed above the EMA. And then even this higher low is congestive at this point. I wouldn't take this higher low as a higher low, but, Anyway, we go into this uptrend here. We have all these very shallow corrections. We finally get a bigger correction. We rush through the EMA. We break the trend line here. I don't think there's anything good there. It's just one big leg down, not off of any support. It's breaking it. Then we rush back above, rush back below. We're still in no man's land. There's nothing to take here. But yeah, I do want to mention this could be like a big picture failed second entry. See, first entry short, second entry short, failure. But it's not off of anything, so you can't really take it. But it did seem to work pretty well so far for 1 to 1. But anyway, so that's going to be it for this video. And, yep, y'all have a good day.